They will try to convince you that you are the same. They will insist that everyone deserves the same table, the same respect, the same concessions. But rare men understand a cold truth. You never negotiate at a disadvantage. There are those who build power in silence, and there are those who spend their entire lives accepting less, calling submission maturity. The price of your presence. Most men negotiate on their knees without realizing it. They accept crumbs and call it strategy. They enter conversations already leaning forward, already offering concessions, already preparing to yield. Then they ask why they are not respected, why their words carry no weight, why they always end with less power than they started. The answer is simple and brutal. You never taught the world that there is consequence for crossing your limits. You never made it clear that loyalty has a cost. You never showed that emotional discipline is not weakness, it is control. You call it flexibility. The world calls it weakness. And weak men confuse adaptation with surrender. Spine, silence, and position. There is a brutal difference between adapting and lowering yourself. Men with spine, men of strategic mindset and internal discipline, know when to adjust their tone, when to step back into the shadows to observe, when to remain silent to measure the ground. But they never enter a room accepting defeat in advance. They do not negotiate from fear. They do not offer concessions before the proposal. They do not reveal need. Silent power does not explain itself. It establishes itself through posture. Every interaction is a test. Every conversation reveals the level of your self-respect. And weak men expose themselves in the first seconds in their rush to please, in the anxiety to close any deal, in the fear of being alone. They negotiate to avoid exclusion. Rare men negotiate to preserve legacy. That is the difference between strong masculine mindset and need disguised as courtesy. Loyalty has a price. Respect has a cost. Your presence is never neutral. It either elevates the environment or weakens it. When you accept terms that diminish you, you teach the other that your word can be bent, that your line can be crossed, that your limit is negotiable. Emotional discipline is knowing how to identify when the table is tilted and having the coldness to stand up without drama, without long explanations, just consequence. Think about the last 5 men who asked something from you. How many brought real reciprocity? How many came with honor and clarity? And how many times did you say yes just to avoid conflict? Just to maintain apparent peace? That is the trap. Weak men operate from fear of loneliness. Rare men operate from certainty of their own value. They know that company that drains costs more than silence. The silent sign that you negotiated wrong? You feel relief when it ends, not victory, not balance, only relief. That is not strategy. It is surrender disguised as maturity. How many men around you live in this pattern without realizing it? Respect power and consequence. Never negotiate at a disadvantage. That does not mean dominating everything. It means never accepting rules that already place you beneath. Power does not shout. Power does not threaten. But it also does not beg. It does not lower itself. It does not accept disrespect disguised as humor. Disposable men enter asking for approval. Irreplaceable men enter knowing exactly where the line is and making it clear it will not be crossed. Betrayal begins when you accept being treated as optional. It begins when you tolerate small violations of respect. When you swallow broken promises to avoid problems. Every time you negotiate against yourself, you betray the man you should be forging. and people notice before you do. They adjust their treatment according to your firmness. Respect is not born from kindness. It is born from consistency. Strategic thinking means seeing beyond the moment. Accepting a bad agreement today buys more pressure tomorrow, because you taught that your resistance has an expiration date. That persistence is enough. That pressure works. Emotional control is refusing to react to theater, refusing to negotiate under manipulation, refusing to treat every conversation as your last chance to be accepted. Remember the last time you yielded something you did not want to yield. Not from conviction, but from exhaustion. That did not end there. You taught a pattern, and patterns repeat until they are broken. Fear demands constant presence. Respect remains even in your absence. Weak men need to monitor. Rare men build structure. Do you recognize that difference? Strategic silence or capitulation. There are retreats that preserve strength, and there are retreats that reveal weakness. Strategy preserves value while buying time. Capitulation trades value for temporary comfort. Masculine wisdom is knowing the difference, not confusing patience with passivity, nor cowardice with prudence. Silence can be calculation, but silence that accepts disrespect is abandonment of honor. The posture may look the same, the intention never is, and everyone senses it even when nothing is said. When you negotiate at a disadvantage, you define the pattern of future interactions. Every concession becomes precedent. Every ignored limit becomes an informal rule. That is why men of strategic mindset treat every interaction as a character test, because it is. True loyalty demands reciprocity. It is not carrying the weight alone. When only one side invests, that is not honor, it is consented exploitation. And the longer you tolerate it, the more natural it becomes for the other. The exact moment to withdraw someone? When you explain yourself more than you are heard. When you prove your value more than you are valued. How many of those you call allies would pass the same test? Rarity commands respect. The man who is always available loses value. The man who is always flexible loses position. The one who never says no becomes a guarantee, not a choice. Rarity builds respect. Scarcity imposes consideration. When you negotiate from abundance, making it clear you are not dependent, the tone shifts automatically. Consequence sustains credibility. Warnings without action erode authority. Every ignored boundary weakens your word. Cold truth. People test until they find real resistance. If they do not find it, they advance. Never negotiating at a disadvantage means being willing to lose a conversation to preserve your integrity. There are offers that appear generous, but carry hidden cost. There are relationships that exist only while you bend. And the only ones who criticize your firmness are those who profited from your flexibility. Masculine psychology of men who survive in the shadows is simple. Never reveal need. Never expose desperation. The moment the other realizes you need more than they do, the balance tilts. And regaining position is costly. Weak men reveal themselves under pressure because they never built internal structure. They live on approval, and when it fails, nothing solid remains. That difference is visible. Do you carry it? The mirror and the cold truth. Now look at yourself. How many times have you negotiated against your own value? How many times have you accepted less out of fear of losing company? How many times have you tolerated disrespect to maintain artificial peace? You are not like the others, but only if you prove it through action. Never negotiating at a disadvantage is not arrogance. It is strategic survival. It is applied emotional discipline. It is loyalty to yourself before demanding loyalty from others. Legacy is not born from constant concessions. It is born from lines that are never crossed. Most will say you changed, and you did, because you understood that being accessible to everyone destroys your position. That strategic silence builds power. That true respect is not requested, it is consequence. You already know the truth. The question is whether you have the spine to apply it when tested. The law remains. Few apply it. Few sustain it. Few maintain discipline when pressure arrives. But rare men recognize the law when they hear it. Remaining firm is a daily choice. Stay alert. There are more silent principles waiting for those who carry the weight of their own honor.